What is good, Legends Z-A enthusiasts? We have finally arrived at one day before the release of Pokémon Legends Z-A. Welcome back to UnhingedSociety, where we will be having a discussion video regarding the stat predictions and the new stats of the Megas that we have done videos in the past for. So leading up until today, which is October 15, I did a series of videos in which I speculated and tried to predict the stats of the Pokemon that were going to be receiving Mega Evolutions and what their Mega stats would look like. So in this video, we will be discussing the actual stats of all of them that have not already been done. For example, I recently did a discussion video on Pyroar, Zygarde, Barbaracle, because before I could get to speculating, the actual stats dropped. So instead of me being the Japanese guy who's still fighting 29 years after the war ended, I decided to just actually actually discuss the release stats for those Mega Pokemon instead of doing a speculation video for them. So I won't be necessarily going too much into detail about those mons. I'll just basically go over the stats a little bit, but the ones that I did do predictions for are going to be the ones that we are going to be comparing and contrasting in this video. So before I get into the video, I do want to say that a lot of hope maxing was going on. I hope maxed way too hard for some of these Megas, and right now as I'm speaking to you, there is still a bit of hope max left in me, right? What you're seeing on the screen is the summary of a Garchomp in Pokemon Legends Arceus, right? This is just something I wanted to point out. So Garchomp's attack stat, when it's at 10, when it's maxed out at 10 in Legends Arceus, is 440, right? But in the regular mainline games, Garchomp can only reach 394 attack, right? Its HP stat here says 460, but in the games, the standard mainline games, it can only reach 420, right? And speed-wise, even with a jolly nature, Garchomp is maxed out at 333 speed, whereas with an adamant nature and no speed boosting nature, it sits at 345. Garchomp has never ever been 345 speed. So I'm taking this to say that the stats that we are seeing for Mega Pokemon inside of Legends Arceus still could be the unfinal stats, right? I am holding out hope. I'm still hope maxing. I will continue to hope max until Champions drops and we get solidarity in the stats for the Megas, right? So I'm bringing up this point to say that the Megas that I have seen, I am disappointed with some of their stats, but there's still a chance that some of these Megas could have better stats than we think that they actually do, right? And I know you can look at this and say, well, if the stats are higher in the Legends games, the stats are probably going to be worse in the mainline games. That's beside the point, right? Game Freak can do whatever they want, and I would hope, max again, that the stats that we're seeing for some of the Megas that aren't too great aren't the final stats and that they actually get reworked or done better in the main series game. But that's it for this. I just wanted to discuss and state my speculation on this, because looking at Garchomp's stats in Legends Arceus and looking at them as they represented on Showdown for the mainline series games, they're not the same. So if someone posts concrete evidence that the stats for Megas in Legends Z-A are actually one-to-one with the stats of the Megas in the mainline games, then all hope maxing is over. There will be no more hope maxing, but for right now, I'm holding out hope. If someone in the comment section can confirm that the stats are actually one-to-one, then I will end it all. But with that being said, let us get into the comparisons. So right here, actually gonna see if I can make this bigger. That's what she said. I have Chandelure's stats that we speculated for, right? So this is Mega Chandelure's actual stats. So let's see how we did. So we guessed 55 on the attack and they actually gave it 75. We guessed 110 for both defenses and we actually nailed 110 for both defenses, what they actually gave Mega Chandelure. 170 special attack, we were extremely close. They actually gave it 175 special attack. So we almost hit the nail on the head there. But where I am unsatisfied is that we guessed 115 speed and they actually only gave this thing plus 10. So instead of being base 115 speed, it's actually only 90 speed. And they gave it a 20-point boost to its attack, which is completely troll. I don't see why Mega Chandelure needs a boost to its attack stat, but I guess if a Chandelure falls on your head, it's gonna feel like a 75 attack base attack stat and not a 55. So I guess it is what it is. There's nothing that can really be done too much about it. So I say we were pretty close. We got really close to the special attack stat. We didn't get the speed stat close at all, and for obvious reasons why, because they took points and put it into its attack stat where it didn't need it, and they just made it barely faster. So yeah, but stat wise, with the modest nature, we are looking at 493 for a special attack stat, which is a pretty heavy hitter. And in speed, 279 if you're uninvested. You run in Timid Nature, you're sitting at 306 speed. So those are the stats that we're going to be pretty much concerned with for Mega Chandelure. And yeah, I mean, at least it outspeeds Great Tusk. It's got something going for it. A spin blocker. If it gets the move wrong, you switch in Chandelure on a close combat or rapid spin, Great Tusk will be no more. Moving on to the next one, we have Meganium. We guessed 97 in attack. It's actually 92 in attack, right? We guessed 120 for defense and special defense. They gave it 115 in both, so we were actually 5 off. We guessed 138 special attack. They actually made it 143. We guessed speed for 70, and they actually made it 80. So we didn't hit a single stat correctly, but I'm cool with what they did. They gave it a speed boost, and the special defenses and defense aren't so high, but they're only 5 points off, so it is what it is. And the special attack stat is actually higher than what we thought it would have been. 252 invested in that. With the modest nature, Meganium's got a 423 special attack stat. I, for one, am not complaining. And it hits 284 for some reason you wanted to run a Timid Nature, but we know Meganium's probably going to be defensive most of the time. So I am satisfied. I think this might have a place in OU. It's actually the first bulky fairy and grass type. So I expect to see good things from that. Also, I do think Mega Chandelure obviously will be OU, because with a speed stat of 306 and such a high special attack stat, not even factoring in abilities, that's definitely some OU material. So that is Meganium and our predictions for that. The next one we have is Dragonite. For Dragonite, we guessed 134 in attack. They actually made it 124. So we didn't change it and they lowered it. We guessed 105 in defense and they actually gave it 115 in defense. We guessed 140 in special attack and they gave it 145 in special attack. We guessed 120 in SPDF and they gave it 125 in SPDF. We guessed 110 on speed and they gave it base 100. So they actually did way better with Dragonite than we had thought, because the defenses are higher on both. The attack stat did get lowered, but the speed is absolutely fair, sitting at base 100. You got 328 speed. So with a jolly nature, well, you're probably going to be running Timid. And with 252 in special attack, you're hitting 389, which it's whatever. I mean, 389 isn't exactly the craziest stat. 427 is more where it's at, so you might see the beginning of agility Dragonites, but I can't even really say. Looking at the attack stat, with an adamant nature, you're hitting 381. So honestly, people will probably just run adamant Dragonite still, and still run Dragon Dance sets. So it is what it is. I am satisfied with how this Mega turned out. It just has 10 lower speed than what we guessed, and the defense, special defense was 5 off, and the defense stat was 10 off. So I'm cool with Mega Dragonite. I think they did him justice stat-wise. This is definitely going to be OU material. It's not to be contested. The next one we have is Starmie, right? Now, unfortunately, we came nowhere close to what Starmie actually was, right? Now, people are speculating that Mega Starmie might get huge power because of the ridiculous 140 attacks that it has, and they were comparing that to like Medicham and Mawile getting stat boosts in their attack to compensate for not having huge power. But I did not foresee Mega Starmie becoming a physical attacker, right? We guessed 68, obviously, because we were hope maxing that it would be a fast special attacker. It's sitting at 140. We were absolutely nowhere close. Defense wise, I boosted them to 100s, and it actually got 105 defenses, so I'm cool with that. Special attack stat, I went out the water to 155, and it only has base 130. Speed wise, I went 137, and they actually said this is going to be a base 120 mon. So when it comes to Starmie, it's going to be really interesting to see how it performs. I can't say that this thing is going to be OU. It might be UU at best because it's not the fastest. It's only sitting at 372 speed, if I'm not incorrect. You're going to probably run a naive nature and 379 attack. If you ran adamant, it would be 416. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. I don't know where this, I think it's going to be maybe like UU, UUBL, but probably not OU unless it like fits a certain niche somewhere or counters a certain thing. So design wise, it's whatever. I mean, Starmie is just meh for me. Like, I'm not disappointed that much. I'm not exactly excited for it. We'll just have to see what it brings in the future. And the special attack stat is 394 if you max it out and you give it a plus modest nature. So that's what we're looking at. That is Mega Starmie. The next one we did is Victreebel. Now, for Victreebel, we guessed base 130 attack. They gave it base 125. We guessed base 110 defenses. It only has 85 defense. We guessed base 120 special attack. It has base 135 special attack. We guessed base 100 defense, special defense, and they gave it 95. And the speed actually went up by 20 points, which I'm satisfied with, right? It went from 50 to 70, so it has more potential to be EV'd differently now. But I wouldn't really say we hit anything too close. We didn't get a single number right, and the attack stat, we're only 5 off. The special attack stat, we're 15 off, and we were 5 off for the special defense. We'll have to see what ability Mega Victreebel gets to see if it'll be worth running as a Mega, but I don't think this will be an OU mon. This might be, it might be UU or RU, depending on, like I said, the ability. We'll just have to see. If it keeps Chlorophyll, this thing could actually become pretty shiced, but we'll just have to see what ability it gets in Champions. So yeah, that is our prediction and how we did for Mega Victreebel. Attack wise, if you max it out, it's sitting at 383. Special attack wise, you max that out and give it a modest nature, sitting at 405, which isn't a slouch by any means either. And I'm pretty sure base 70 speed is 262. So yeah, that's Mega Victreebel. Chlorophyll will make it shice, but we will just have to see where this takes us, because I'm not gonna lie, you're running a Jolly or minus special defense for speed nature, and then you hit a growth. Both of your, I'm pretty sure both of your offensive stats can be EV to hit 600, so there's something there. We'll just have to see. The next one we have is Clefable. Now, Clefable, we guessed that this thing was going to have 70 in attack. They gave it 80. We guessed 113 in defense. They gave it 93. We guessed 115 in special attack. They gave it 135. We guessed 130 in special defense. They gave it 110. We guessed 60 in speed. They gave it 70. So for whatever reason, they gave Clefable a 10-point boost to its attack stat. I guess they want knockoff to hit harder. And yeah, we didn't hit a single stat for this one either. But if this thing keeps Magic Guard, as a fairy and flying type, it may have potential to have a spot in OU, right? 110 special defense is nothing to scoff at. That sits at 350 when you max it out with a positive, especially defensive nature. Special attack stat at 135 if you go modest. That's sitting at 405. So this thing's Moonblasts are gonna hit pretty damn hard. Defense wise, you run a bold nature. It sits at 313, which is way better than base Clefable. Like, we always used to run bold 252, 252, and 313 is gonna be way better than like 269 is what I think it maxed out at as a regular Clefable. So I am satisfied with how this thing turned out. 10 points faster in speed, it's okay. I would have liked to see it a bit bulkier, but defenses wise, what I had hoped max probably would have been a bit OP. Cosmic power on this thing would have gone stupid, and bold calm mindsets would have become a terrorist to whatever tier it landed in. So that is Mega Clefable. My prediction is that this thing will be OU. I don't see it dropping to UU and staying very long unless there's like some insane power creep that's going to be going on. So the next one we have is Feraligatr. For Feraligatr, we guessed 155 attack. They gave it 160. We guessed 115 defense. They gave it 125. We hoped that it would only have 69 special attack. They gave it 89. Special defense, we guessed 98. It only gets 93. And we hoped for 103 speed, and they only gave it 78. They actually didn't give it any speed at all. So for whatever reason, they thought that it was a good idea to give it 20 points to its special attack stat, and that's kind of a waste. But like I said before, there is a chance for this to be redeemed. So Mega Feraligatr, we hit not a single stat correctly. The closest we were was attack, only 5 points off. So they actually made it stronger than we thought it was going to be. 252 and adamant nature puts you at 460. So this thing is actually so cracked that it can run a jolly nature, but it's going to be in the same boat for as regular Feraligatr, because with base 280 speed, you're only going to be so fast after one Dragon Dance, and you were always forced to run jolly unless you were forced to run jolly as regular Feraligatr, unless you didn't care about being outsped by certain Scarfers or even certain fast Mons that just didn't need a Scarf to outspeed you. So as a water and dragon type, we'll have to see where this thing ends up. I want to say it could be OU, but at the same time, it might be UU or UUBL. I don't see this thing falling to RU or NU. I think Mega Feraligatr, especially if it gets a good ability, will have a place in UU or OU. So yeah, defense wise, it gets a max of 383. So you could opt for some bulky Dragon Dance sets, but with all the special attackers that we're seeing an influx of, you're not gonna have a lot of time to do that. But yeah, that was our prediction for Mega Feraligatr. Now for Skarmory. For Skarmory, we guessed 150 attack. They gave it 140. We guessed 120 defense. They gave it 110. We guessed 40 special attack and it stayed at 40, so we did get one right. Special defense, we guessed 90, it got 100. And speed, we guessed 100 and it got 110. So I am absolutely enthralled that Mega Skarmory actually did way better than we thought, right? Because I will definitely take a 10-point trade-off in attack for a 10-point boost to speed. We thought the special defense was going to be higher, but I'm definitely satisfied with 90. And the defense is only 10 points off, so it's not really that big of a deal. 140 attack, max that out. We're sitting again at 416, and it's got base 110, so that's going to be 350 speed. So a very solid speed tier, and like I said, its previous evolution gets weak armor before it mega evolves, so there's a lot of shenanigans you can pull off with that. I am satisfied with Mega Skarmory. They absolutely killed it. It gets Swords Dance, it gets all types of coverage moves. I will be looking forward to using this thing. I will be making it OU. I'm not gonna let this thing drop to UU. I will be the biggest Mega Skarmory propagandator, if that's even a word, right? I will be shilling Mega Skarmory. But yeah, these stats are really good. I'm satisfied with what they did. Froslass. For Froslass, we did some insane hope maxing. We chopped its attack stat in half and brought it down to 40. Game Freak did no such thing. Its attack stat sitting at 80. We hoped the defense stat would get a boost to 90. It stayed at 70. Special attack wise, we guessed 150 and they actually gave it 140, which isn't too far off, so I guess it is what it is. We hoped it would get 100. We hoped it would get 90 in special defense. They actually gave it 100, so that's pretty good. And speed wise, we guessed 140, but they gave it 120. So this thing's sitting at 372 speed, if I'm not mistaken. With a timid nature, it is 372 speed. With a non-invested but max EV special attack, you're sitting at 379, and if you do modest, that's another 416 stat. So like I said before, it'll depend on the ability. Mega Froslass, Ice and Ghost isn't exactly the best defensive typing. We will have to see what this thing gets as an ability to determine where it'll be, but off of these stats alone, I think this thing could be RUBL UU, and a good ability could push it to UUBL, but I don't think they have anything cracked in store for Mega Froslass, so we'll have to see where that ends up. But yeah, again, we didn't hit a single stat correctly on this one either. The closest we got was the special attack stat and the special defense stat, both 10 points off. That's it for Mega Froslass. The next one is Emboar, Mega Emboar. For Mega Emboar, we guessed a attack stat of 143. They gave it 148. Defense stat, we guessed 100. They gave it 75. Special attack, we said 90. They said 110. Special defense, we said 100. They said 110. Speed, we said 85. They gave it 75. So the closest we got was the special defense stat. We're 10 off. Same with speed, also 10 off. Defense, nowhere close, 25 away. And attack, we're only 5 points off. So that's a nice attack stat. 252 with an adamant nature, you're sitting at 434. Speed wise, which I don't think a lot of people will be running a speed boosting nature, sitting at 273. You already know that base 110 stat is going to be 350 if someone wants to run a modest Mega Emboar, which I doubt, but it is what it is. We'll have to see what Emboar brings. This mon could really go either way. Like I said before, it has access to Sucker Punch, so this thing might end up sitting in a, let's see, I think Mega Emboar probably will be somewhere between RU and UU, but it also could be NU. The ability is going to seal its fate, and if they rework the stats, that will also seal its fate. But yeah, that's it for Mega Emboar. I'm kind of whatever about these stats. It's not exactly my favorite mon. The design is okay, it's alright. The shiny looks pretty cool too, so yeah, that's my take on Emboar and its Mega. Now we have Excadrill. What we guessed for Excadrill, we guessed an attack stat of 158. They said 165, buddy. We said 90 defense. They said 100. We said 40 special attack. They said 65. We said 95 speed def. They said 65. We said 115 speed. They said 103. So it did get a much needed speed boost, which I'm satisfied with. If you run a Jolly Nature, you're sitting at 335 speed. And if you run an Adamant Nature, you're going from 429 invested to 471 with a plus. So if this thing keeps Sand Rush, it's going to be absolutely dangerous. It already has Rapid Spin, so you can probably still get away with running a plus attack nature. This thing is going to be putting in some work. This thing is definitely going to be OU. I don't see a world in which this thing is not OU. I can see a world where it possibly is UUBL, but if it keeps Sand Rush, it's definitely going to be an OU staple, right? I'm satisfied with how these stats turned out. The closest we got was the defense, 10 points off. Everything else, absolutely not. But I'm satisfied with what they did, because it's a lot stronger and it has better physical defense. Special defense is still abysmal, and speed is just okay. So yeah, I got high hopes for Mega Excadrill. The next one is Scolipede, and if you guys saw that video, you already know that I was hope maxing into Oblivion, because 135 is what we guessed and they gave it 140. 114 is what we guessed, they gave it 149. We guessed 55 special attack, they gave it 75. The special defense stayed the same, so we got that right. And then the speed absolutely tanked into Oblivion with a complete drop in 60 points. So the closest we got, obviously other than the special defense, was the attack stat. We were only off by 5. And with a attack boosting nature, this thing is going to be sitting at another 416 416 stat. Defense wise, if you run Impish, that's 436, which is pretty bulky. Special defenses stayed the same, but for some reason, I guess it makes sense because of its armor, it's now sitting at 62 speed. So you're going to spend a couple of turns in base Scolipede form collecting speed boost before you want to Mega Evolve. Its Mega Evolution ability could be speed boost, it could be something else, but we'll have to see. I think this thing has potential to be UU. Ability depending and move pool wise could bring it to OU or push it to UUBL, but we'll just have to see. The design is sick as hell. Like, I stand this design, it's pretty shice. And yeah, that's it. Like, I'm not disappointed with Mega Scolipede. The speed boost, the speed drop makes sense because it has speed boost and its evolution is incredibly physically defensive. So yeah, that's my take on Scolipede and our stat predictions for it. Next we have Scrafty, which I did some insane hope maxing on as well. For Scrafty, I had hoped that they would make it a lot faster and that they would stop giving its special attack stat attention. We guessed 128, they gave it 130, so we're only 2 points off there. We guessed 125, they gave it 135, so we were 10 points away. Special attack, we dropped it to give it speed, but they said, nah, here's some extra points, here's an extra 10 points to your special attack stat for 55. So we weren't close there. Special defense, another 135, 125 is what we guessed, so we're both 10 points off away from that. And we hope max into Oblivion for speed. It's only sitting at 68 speed, so after one Dragon Dance, you're going to be going off of a 258 speed stat, which, I mean, let me calc that and see what that outspeeds. 258 after one Dragon Dance, you're sitting at 387 speed, so at least you outspeed stuff like Weavile now and Meowscarada and Roaring Moon after one Dragon Dance, so I guess, but man, it is what it is. 394 attack, most people will probably be running 252, 252. Defenses aren't bad either. If you ran defensively, you probably will in VGC. 405 defenses is no slouch either, so while I am disappointed that they didn't make this thing faster, they definitely made it bulkier and they definitely made it hit harder than we had planned. So I am satisfied with Scrafty, and its Mega Evolution design is pretty sick, so I will take that. I'm satisfied with that, I will take that. Tier wise, we'll have to see. This thing is no Urshifu, but it could possibly sit somewhere along the lines of UU. I can see the thing putting in work in the UU tier. I don't think it's going to be exactly OU because it doesn't really have anything in its move pool currently that's going to set it apart from other fighting types. It's just a fighting and dark type like Urshifu. The only thing it has over Urshifu is that it can Dragon Dance, like it can pick up a speed boost and then select other moves, but Urshifu is still going to outspeed it with a Choice Scarf and even running an Adamant Nature. So yeah, that's Scrafty. I'm cool with how the stats actually turned out. They are what they are, and yeah, we'll have to look forward to seeing what its ability is. Like I said before, it can pick up Moxie boost attack before Mega Evolving, and it can stay in its base form to spam Shed Skin while Dragon Dancing, so we'll have to see how that goes. Eelektross. Alright, so for Eelektross, we guessed 140 attack, they gave it 145. We guessed 105 defense, it's at 80. We guessed 130 special attack, it's at 135. We guessed 105 speed def, it's at 90. We guessed 50 speed, it's at 80. So they made it faster. It'll sit at 284 speed if you max out its speed stat. And the closest we got was the attack and special attack stat. We were both 5 points off for each. So this thing's gonna be sitting at a 350 attack stat if you run 427 if you run adamant and max EVs. And special wise, if you run a modest nature, this thing will be sitting at 405. So it's a mixed attacker, obviously, and it did get faster. So I guess there's something there, but we'll have to see what is done with this. I don't think a lot of people are going to be investing in its speed. They're probably going to invest in HP, a little bit in defense, and then they'll put the rest of EVs into attack and special attack to hit what they need to hit. Seems like a pretty VGC coded mon. I don't see this thing going too crazy in the singles meta. Probably will end up as an RU Mega. I don't see it ending up in NU, but we'll have to see. Could be RU, RUBL, NUBL. So yeah, that's Eelektross. At least it won't have to sit in ZU anymore. And if this thing managed to stay in ZU with a Mega Stone, then it's just absolutely cooked. Was my favorite mon in Gen 5. I love its sprite, but it seems like Eelektross has just not received the shine that it deserves ever since then. Next one we have is Chesnaught. So for Chesnaught, we guessed 157 attack, it only has 137. We guessed 162 defense, it has 172. We guessed 54 special attack, it has 74. We guessed 105 speed def, it has 115. We thought the speed was going to stay the same at 64, but they dropped it 20 points to 44, which makes sense because its Mega Evolution armor looks extremely heavy. So I mean, it's whatever. I'm not disappointed that the attack stat is only 137. I'm surprised the defense is actually that high, but it does make sense. It's wearing armor now. And they gave it more special defense than we thought it would have gotten, so I'm cool with that too. And honestly, speed never mattered on Chesnaught, so I'm not mad that they took 20 points away from it. Running an adamant nature with investment, you're sitting at 410 attack, which is pretty damn good. 252, and you're not even at a plus defensive nature, you're already sitting at 443. If you go impish, you're at 487. You're almost at 500 defense. That's crazy. You have 361 special defense if you run a plus special defense nature. And for funsies, let's look at how fast this thing is. Jolly 205. 205 speed as a Mega Chesnaught, so you're not even outspeeding Jolly Gambit, which is absolutely going to do nothing to you because you have a base 172 defense stat. So we're going to probably see a lot of physically defensive Chesnaughts, bulk up sets. We're probably going to see a lot of careful bulk up, drain punch, recovery moves. I have high hopes for Mega Chesnaught. I think this thing, depending on its ability, will probably be somewhere between UU and OU. It's not fast at all, so it's definitely a slower, tankier mon. And its ability is going to be the defining factor, but I think this thing will probably sit somewhere around UU or NUBL. I mean RUBL. Somewhere between RU and NU. That's my take on Mega Chesnaught. Stat-wise, we actually didn't hit any stats. We didn't hit any stats on the head. The closest we got was defense, which was only 10 points away. And same for special defense. We were 10 points away as well. So yeah, that's it for Mega Chesnaught. Next we have Delphox. For Delphox, we guessed 59 attack, they said 69. 92 defense, it's still at 72. We guessed 154 special attack, it's actually 159. We guessed 120 defense, it's 125. We guessed 134 speed, and it's actually 134 speed, so we hit the nail on the head for the speed stat for Mega Delphox, right? 252 in speed and a timid nature, you're sitting at 403. If you run a specially defensive boosting nature and max investment, you're sitting at a 383 defense stat. But what we all really care about is that special attack stat, because uninvested with a nature-wise move like 252, you're sitting at 417, right? And if you go modest, that's 458. So Mega Delphox sitting at 403 speed and 417 special attack is going to go absolutely crazy after one nasty plot. So I am satisfied with how this turned out. We hit the speed on the head, and then we were only 5 points away for the special defense, and we were 5 points away for the special attack as well. So this thing is actually hitting way harder. The only thing that it didn't get was a defense boost, but I'm cool with that because this thing is pretty much going to be a glass cannon, almost to an extent on the physical side anyways. So yeah, I'm satisfied with how Mega Delphox turned out, and yeah, this is going to be OU material for sure. It might even get banned to Ubers, but we'll just have to see. Next we have Greninja. For Greninja, we guessed 127 attack, it's at 125, so we're only 2 points away. 67 defense, they gave it 77, so 10 points away. We guessed 150 special attack, we were hope maxing, it only gets 133. Special defense, we get 71, it gets 81. And speed, we get 140, it actually gets 142. So I'm satisfied with how this turned out. The closest stat that we got close to was the attack stat, we were only 2 points off. And with a timid nature, this thing is going to be sitting at 421, which is speed ties with Dragapult. If you ran an adamant nature, it would be sitting at 383. And if you ran a modest nature, it would be sitting at 401. The reason why I'm satisfied with these stats is because if this thing keeps Balabond as a base ability, this thing is going to go absolutely crazy. After knocking out one Mon and Mega Evolving, it's going to be situational, but having to knock out a Mon to get a boost before Mega Evolving is what might keep this thing from being banned to Ubers. But I can definitely see this sitting in the OU tier, because speed time with Dragapult is definitely something to talk about, and it's fast. They're saying it gets nasty plot, so this thing is definitely sitting somewhere between OU and Ubers, that's for sure. But I am definitely satisfied with how Greninja turned out, and people are saying that it's just the worst Ash Greninja, but what you have to realize is that you can Ash Greninja before Mega Evolving. Like, you get your Battle Bond, a +1 to speed, attack, and special attack, and then Mega Evolution, bro, this thing's gonna be better than Ash Greninja, right? Because with Ash Greninja, you basically had to do Battle Bond. You had to get a KO before you could transform. But now you're going to get a KO, get a stat boost, and then transform to transcend even further stats. Like, that's gonna be absolutely crazy. So I am satisfied with how Greninja turned out. Pyroar, we already had a discussion video about Pyroar. This thing got no respect. It got 20 stats added to all of its stats, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, and Game Freak hates Pyroar. I already roasted it enough in the other video. I'm actually gonna just go ahead and close this tab because we're not discussing this one anymore. Next, we have Eternal Floette. I did have a video that I dropped, the discussion video for Floette, Mega Floette, Eternal Mega Floette. Can I speak English today? Apparently not. I dropped a video going over Eternal Mega Floette Eternal. Mega Eternal Floette. I went over its stats, had a discussion vid. Like I said, this thing is going to be crazy. I think it only needs one attack, and as soon as you clear all the physical attackers out of the way, it's going to go crazy on the special attacking side, because Calm Mind, Moonblast, Wish Protect. That's all you need. And yeah, there isn't really too much to say. I think the stats, how it turned out, is going to be pretty cool, and this thing is going to go crazy on the Rollville teams. I think it's going to definitely sit in OU, but the ability is what's going to make that defining factor of whether or not it gets banned. I don't think it's going to get banned, but that ability could be a defining factor. So I am satisfied with the stats that I'm seeing for Mega Eternal Floette. Sheesh. It's a tongue twister there, or maybe I'm just winded. Malamar, Malamar, Malamar. You are no longer my friend. We guessed 60 for the attack stat, it has 102. We guessed 73 for defense, it has 88. We were hope maxing on Copium because we guessed 150 special attack, and this thing is sitting at 98. We guessed 75 for special defense, it has 120. We wanted a 138 speed stat, it's at 88. So we didn't hit a single attack stat. We didn't hit a single stat correctly at all. not one. Attack wise, we'll have to see if this thing keeps contrary, but it's sitting at 333 attack. If you ran modest, 324 special attack. If you ran timid or jolly, 302 speed, tying with base Excadrill. So the ability will have to define what this thing is going to be. 372 for defense stat is not exactly anything crazy or anything to write home about. This thing is completely outclassed by Hoopa. The only thing it has over Hoopa is having a faster speed stat, but Hoopa can hold a Choice Scarf, so it doesn't even have that going for it. This thing is probably going to be a RU or NU Mega, depending on what its ability is, so that's really the only thing I can say of Malamar at this point. I am disappointed with how this thing turned out. They made it look like it was going to be a behemoth in the trailer, and it is anything but a behemoth, right? Now that ability could be a menace, but we're just going to have to see. But Malamar, you're not my friend. Also, we didn't get a single stat prediction right. Game Freak completely got us on this one. We have Barbaracle here. I did a discussion video about that one's stats. That thing is going to go crazy with the option to stay a Rock Water Shell Smasher or just turn into a Rock Fighting and start firing off close combats. That thing is going to have an OU, a spot in OU, and even not in OU, it's definitely going to have a place in UU. I don't think that thing is going to drop anywhere below the UU tier. So that's it for Mega Barbaracle. Dragalge. For Dragalge, we guessed an attack stat of 85, and it stayed the same. Defense of 110, it's actually only 105. Special attack of 137, it's 132, so we were 5 off. Same with the defense. 133 special defense, it's at 163. 54 speed, it stayed at 44. So the only stat we got right was the guessing after leaving the attack stat the same. We were 5 off from defense and we were 5 off from special attack, and we were 30 points away from special defense, 10 points away from speed, which I'm honestly satisfied with because this thing is so slow that there's really no point in giving it a speed boost. That's a huge special attack, special defense stat though. 425 without a plus nature, and if you go calm, 467. This thing is going to be tanking hits for days. With a modest nature, you're sitting at 399 special attack. So 339 defense if you run bold, which is whatever. You have an HP stat of 334, so if this thing keeps adaptability, it's going to be dangerous. I don't see this thing going too crazy. Like I said, low speed. It's a VGC coded mon for Trick Room, I guess. This thing probably will be somewhere between NU and RU, I personally think. The ability could have an impact on it, but I think the stats are just going to be, it's going to be held back too much by these stats. So I think Mega Dragalge will be somewhere between NU and UU. Maybe even UU or RU. But yeah, we'll have to see. Only stat we got was the attack stat. I do think its design is pretty cool, so they did cook there. Hawlucha. For Hawlucha, we guessed an attack stat of 142, it got 137. We guessed 105 defense, it got 100. We guessed 60 special attack, it got 74. We guessed 97 SPDF, it gets 93, and we thought the speed stat would stay the same, and it did, so we got that right. But we were 5 away from the defense stat. We hope maxed and hoped it wouldn't get any attention to a special attack. We thought they would subtract from the special attack to make it better, but they didn't. We were 4 points away from the special defense stat, so I'm cool with how it turned out. It's still sitting at its original speed, which is 368. Attack stat of 335, and if you run adamant, it goes to 410. 328 defense if you were to go impish. So I guess that like I said before, the ability will be the determining factor for where this thing sits. I think it could be OU. It can definitely not fall past UU. So this thing is going to be somewhere between UU, UUBL, or OU. I'm satisfied with how these stats turned out. They're looking pretty solid, and if his ability is good, it's definitely going to be a solid OU staple. Zygarde, I did a video about Mega Zygarde. It was actually the video I uploaded before this one. So we went over how this thing is basically a nuke. It's walking around with that blick on him, ready to unload that Mazer cannon. So yeah, Zygarde is definitely going to be Ubers. I don't know if that thing might actually get banned to anything goes, but I'll be interested to see what gets done with Mega Zygarde, because it does get held back by the fact that it has to reach 50% health before you can Mega Evolve it. So it will be very interesting to see where that thing ends up. And Falinks. For Falinks, we guessed an attack stat of 130 and a defense stat of 130. We were both off by 5 points. It actually got 135 in attack and defense. Special attack stayed the same, we got that right. Special defense, we hoped for 80, but it stayed at 65. We wanted 95 speed, but it actually gave it 100. So after a no retreat, this thing can get pretty nasty. You max out its attack stat, it's gonna be 360, it's gonna be 405, I think, with an adamant nature. And defense is obviously gonna be the same, because it's the same stat if you run Impish. It's gonna be sitting at 328 speed if you run Jolly. So I think a lot of people are going to run Adamant Nature, because after no retreat, I don't think you're getting knocked out by any physical attack. You're going to be taking hits on the special side, but most special attackers have terrible defense. So because of the move no retreat, I think Falinks honestly could be between UU and OU material, because it has just enough moves to hit what it needs to hit. And like I said, the downside of no retreat is not being able to switch out. So I think that being a factor, like you set up and then you have to do or die, is what's going to keep it from being banned like from OU. I don't think this thing's going to get banned from OU. I think it'll reach OU, like it won't be top used in OU, but it'll definitely be in OU. So yeah, the closest we got was, well, we nailed the special attack stat. I'm glad we did. They didn't do anything to it. We didn't hit special defense, but they made it faster than we had hoped, and they actually made it attack and defense stronger wise. So I'm really cool with how it turned out. It turned out better than we speculated. I guess the special defense not getting boosted is whatever, but the speed stat is definitely good. Hits base 100. That's a golden check mark for a lot of mons, like hitting base 100 speed. So I expect great things from Mega Falinks. I think it's definitely going to be a solid mon. And yeah, that is pretty much it for this discussion vid. So for the most part, like I said, some of these mons could have received better stats. Again, I'm going to need someone to let me know, because I don't have the game yet, but I see people playing it. Let me know in the comment section if the stats for like other megas are 1-to-1 to what's in the game, because if it is, then that would mean that these stats that we're seeing are final. But if not, then there's hope for other mons. But that is it for this video. I had a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks doing the speculations for these mons to see where they finally ended up, and it's pretty cool how most of them turned out. I did a lot of hope maxing, and obviously I asked for too much, but for the most part, I'm cool with how most of the stats for these megas came out. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Hit the comment section, let me know your thoughts and opinions on your favorite megas, and peace out.